bugs that 2.3 had. So now there's no warnings, and the packages work right out of the box. So if you want to download that first and then make a new application, it's the same process. You don't have to change any variables or anything. You just change the 2.3 folder, delete it, and then replace it with your 2.4 folder, and then just create a new project. So we're going to get started in a second. I'll give you a minute. Okay, so open up Notepad. We're making an application. I've created about 4 questions you need to ask yourself and answer before you create an application. I've made the mistake of just sitting down and starting the code all night long, and what happens is you kind of lose focus of what you're doing, or you realize things aren't going to work, or for whatever reason things are not working out the way you want them to. So I've spent many nights just erasing almost entire programs and starting from scratch. So I've created a task list that helps me when creating a project. The first thing you want to ask is, what are you creating and why? Also, I posted this on Moodle. You're going to have to answer these questions for your group projects. But I also do this every time I make an application. For this semester, we're going to create a basic task list where you can add tasks, see tasks. We're also going to make a mini social network with the in-class section. So we're going to be able to see other people's tasks from not just the online section, but from the in-class section as well. And so what are we creating? A task list. Why are we creating it? To remind ourselves of tasks we need to complete. We also want to communicate with people from the other section of CPT 373. Let's make this a little bigger. So we want to create a task list where we could create tasks and view other people's tasks and see their profiles. So we're going to make this little social network. We're going to have some fun. Also, even if you don't have experience with web programming, I'm doing a task list and a social network is going to hit on pretty much every single basic concept of web programming and mobile application programming, as far as just some basic checkpoints and some advanced stuff too. But don't worry, I'm going to go over things step by step so you don't get lost. Okay, so the next question we're going to ask ourselves is, what information am I providing? Okay. When I was in class the other night, we went over this, so I had them shoot out ideas because I could shoot out all the ideas I want, but I'd rather people, shoot me ideas of what they want to see. Also, if I'm creating it for you, it does you no good as far as being creative. And coding is not 100% or even 50% of creating an application. It's really your creativity mixed with doing things the correct way and formatting things the correct way to make an app that looks and works right. So what information do we want? We're gonna have a login page, where we are going to capture your major, name. We're going to create usernames, and I think password. I think that's it. Let's see. Oh, an email. So let's go with email. Okay. And obviously we're going to have tests where you can have a test name, description, and do. Also, we're going to have profiles. We're going to be able to add pictures, username, name, and major, and that will go on your profile page. I'm just pretty much zooming through this. This is nothing important as far as some information I'm just jotting down. It doesn't have to be technical. Just want to get a good idea of what you want to do. In plain English. When you translate things into technical code, it's a lot easier when you know what you want to do. If you could just write it down on paper and as if you were writing like an English paper or a technical paper, rather than just starting to code out of nowhere. Also, I usually do flowcharts. I'll show you how to do that next in the next lecture. So we're gonna have and a picture gallery. So between all the screens, we're going to be able to see your picture, other people's pictures, your information, their information, your tasks, other people's tasks. That's not technical. I'm not including the forms and the screens that we're going to use and what other screens we're going to use other people's information in, because we're going to have other screens where other people's information appear, but again, we only need to name it once because that's just part of the general information list. Okay, so now that we have our information, the next question we usually have to ask, well, I think this is very, very important. This might be the most important question that you could ask yourself is, who's my audience? This can be easy question, depending. Mostly hard. For example, if you have an app where you are doing, for say, a personal health records application, I've done research, and I'll show you in this website. This is a medical website. Most medical fields, actually all of them, they use blues and whites and very common colors as their color scheme, because doctors don't want to feel alarmed, as in they don't want to see reds and oranges and things, or yellows, things that will denote immediate danger. If we were making instead an ice cream site where you want bright colors, You wouldn't want to use dull colors. You want to use colors where it's every color under the rainbow, and literally there is a rainbow in this website. So you wouldn't use these purples and yellows and oranges and pinks and all these colors in a website for cancer patients. So again, knowing your audience is big. If you're talking to doctors, you might be able to put more information on a page with paragraphs. But if you're making an app for younger children, you're going to want to put less information. You're going to want to do just pictures and big buttons. Again, there's also an intelligence deficit between a doctor and a child. So you have to know who's going to be looking at your app. That actually affects what you put on your app and how you display it a great deal. Unfortunately, apps like Google, everyone uses Google, so they have to spend millions of dollars figuring out the best happy medium there possibly is for a layout, what's easy enough, what information they could give, how they could give it. They don't want to give too little. People want to know things. Also, they don't want to make it hard for people to read, and they can't make everyone happy, but they have to try to be somewhere in the middle. If you're making more of like a site that has a niche, you should know your audience. So again, knowing who your customer is helps you in designing your app, your buttons, your colors, your layouts. Even when you're making a regular website, this applies everywhere, or even a program. This is not just for mobile apps. This is for any website or application you might want to make. See, for us, we're students, or you guys are students. We are students. So there's no special needs. We could read, hopefully. And we're smart enough to be able to have menus and stuff, but we're gonna try to go by Apple's design and their philosophy of easy flow, very little ways to navigate into a dead end. Apple does a fantastic job at making their interfaces very easy to use and user friendly. That's why they're very popular. Especially with newer computer users, someone that is older, never had a computer before, they're going to tend towards a Mac, and you'll see that if you just just kind of notice. You'll see that most older people will get a Mac because of its ease of use. It's just a button click away for anything. Okay. So now we know who our audience is. Again, so when you're making your app this semester with your teammates, keep in mind who you are trying to pitch your idea to. As for example, I'll give you a quick example. In my app, I realize my app is for people who go out and they drink at night. So that being said, I have to have big pictures and very little information on each page. I have to have, today's specials for site. They're right there. They're very hard to miss. There's a call button, if you want to call. Coupons, if there's coupons, it'll appear, and the menu button. As you can see, it's very easy to navigate. Also, I don't put too much information on each page. When you have an app, you can only use about one column of information. What that means is this. See, on the website, I have column 1, which is my list view, column 2, which would be like a photo gallery, end of video, and then 3 would be specials, address, business hours, and events. Compared to my app, now I'm only using one column of information, column 1. Now I click, this is column 2 on a completely separate view, and column 3 gets split up between pop-outs, and unfortunately I had to make use of other pages sometimes. That's just the way it is. But I try not to navigate too much, only because people get lost in navigation. Even having big buttons that say back or home, I mean, it gets confusing for people, unfortunately. So I make use of what you have. Realize that you have one column, quote unquote, column view. So anything you do, you shouldn't have too many things side by side. I mean, you have buttons side by side, but that's about it. Meaning that I wouldn't have like a list view along with their detail view right next to each other. That's the whole point of Apple's awesome navigation views. It's like kind of popping a view onto the stack if you have programmed in C before, or C++. Okay, so now we know who my audience is. Now the last question is, what screens will I have? So this kind of takes a while too, especially if you've never made an app before. The way to really do this is you really need to know what information you have. You don't need to know how exactly you're going to lay it out yet on each screen, but you kind of, if you look at apps, you get a general idea of how you want to split up your information. So what we came up with was, we're going to have a login page. We're going to have my profile page. An add task page. This is pending. I might do this as a pop-up. There's really no reason, again, unless you have enough information to go on one page, there's no reason to traverse to a new page, meaning that I'm only going to have a form that asks me my task name, task description, and task due date. I really see no reason why that should get its own page, and you lose track of navigation when that could easily go in a pop-out view. Even Android is pushing towards this standard. If you read their docs, I'm going to post their documentation on the UI and their requirements and what they want to see in an app. Also Apple's too. So this is pending, but for now we'll keep it as a separate page. And then we're going to have a view tasks page. Again, so this could definitely get its own screen because we're going to have a list view. If you have 20 tasks due, within a month or two or whatever, it warrants its own page because there's going to be 20, 30 items and scrolling, and it will fill up a whole page, and you can't do that in a pop-up. Also, we're going to put other people's tasks where you can see their tasks when they're due, and their profile picture. So that warrants its own page. We came up with browse, so you'll be able to browse students based on parameters. Again, enough information to warrant its own page. And other person's profile, which obviously has the other person's profile picture, their photo gallery, their information, etc., etc. Absolutely warrants its own page. Some of the things I didn't mention was editing my profile, and settings like as in privacy, yada yada, but they don't deserve their own pages, and we're going to fit them into probably the profile page where we have the settings tab, and we could just pop out our settings. So that's exactly how that should work. Okay, so now that we know we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens. So we're going to have a total of 6 screens. So that's our basic checklist. Again, it does get more detailed, and I'll show you, once you know basically what you're going to have and you fill in the wireframes, then we're going to go into depth, more or less, what you're going to do exactly from start to finish. Pop outs where, how are you going to handle things, how do you want to transition between each page, how you're going to have user interaction, as in when you add a task, do you want an alert, do you want just, well, I don't like alerts on phones or even computers, because you have to click to get out of them. It's very obtrusive. So do you want something, if anyone has used Twitter on their computer, they know that, like a little black pop-out comes out every time you post something, and it goes away on its own. It's just a little mini toast. If anyone has an Android is awesome. It has something called a toast, where a little pop-out comes out, and it goes away by itself. And it doesn't require you to say okay or cancel or whatever action it wants you to take. Okay, so now that we know we have 6 screens, let's make our wireframe. So everyone get out their Eclipse. I made a new project called Wireframe. You could just use the one you've had. You don't have to. You could create a new one, but I want to build on this particular project throughout the whole semester. So I would maybe create a new app or a new project called Wireframe, and we'll go from there. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay, so this is the default project. What we're going to do is go into our index.html. You're going to right click, open with text editor, and we're going to delete everything from body. We're going to go div class app, and we're going to delete up until where there are the scripts for Cordova. So just delete div class app. Don't delete these scripts down here because your app will crash. These are just defaults for Android. Also get rid of the title. Get rid of the license, because we don't care about licensing. And we're going to go into our CSS file, right click, and we're going to open with text editor. And the only thing that I do want to keep is you're going to highlight WebKit, touch, callout, none. Actually, these first 3, WebKit, user select, text size adjust, and touch callout, just cut, and we're going to paste it right here. And we're going to get rid of everything in this CSS file, because these are for Cordova's default project. There's just 2. We're not going to do any CSS today. The only thing I want to do is body, and we're going to throw these back into the body. And and do not delete WebKit tap highlight color, because otherwise when you have click events and stuff, you're going to have like a weird orange overlay, which is standard by Android. We're going to do padding 0, margin 0, height 100%, width 100%, and just HTML, height 100%, width 100%, padding 0, margin 0. So I'm gonna let you guys, delete the license. This asterisk, that's called a wildcard. If you don't know programming, a wildcard is everything, meaning that it will apply to every single element in your HTML document. So say that you want everything in your entire document to have the color green. For text color green. That will apply to every element and overrides any other styles. Of course, we don't want to do that except for our touch events. So let me highlight this and see if we could. Is there a zoom? There's no way for me to, I can't find the zoom. Copy. So these are the styles you want to have in your CSS. So I'll give you a minute. Okay, so let's just save our CSS file, and let's save our index file. So right now we should just have a body with a couple of scripts, tags, and just some meta tags up here, which I'll go over when we go over CSS. Okay. So let's wireframe our app. Okay, a few things before we wireframe that you should understand. When you're making an app, hold on 1 second. When you're making an app, if you have made websites before, you know that when you make a website, say you want to go to the contact page, as you can see on the top, that it switches HTML pages, and the content is not now on a new page. When we make an app, it's kind of the same concept, but instead of switching the actual page link as in a different HTML page, everything is going to be in the same page, and the only thing we're going to do is switch views out of the viewport, meaning we have 6 screens, so there are going to be 6 wrapper divs that we pop in and out of our viewport, which would be here an iPhone. This is a viewport, and this is my list wrapper div, and I'm switching it out now with the main div, which would be the login div. I always stay on the same page, and all I do is hide and show different views into my viewport via JavaScript, either fading or sliding, etc. There's a couple different ways you could quote unquote change pages, but we're actually only changing the view in the viewport, and the viewport is just 100% of width of the phone, 100% height of the screen of the phone. Okay, so that being said, we have 6 screens, so let's do 6 wrapper divs. Div ID equals login wrapper. Close it. div ID equals, what do we have? My profile. Div ID equals add task. Div ID equals other person's profile. Div ID equals browse. Oh, and I'm sorry, we forgot, after add task, add div ID equals view tasks. I'll give you a minute to write it. While you write it, just want to explain now. Logically, we have 6 entirely different screens. Well, not right now, but we will have 6 different screens that are represented by our container divs, which are quote unquote, I call them wrappers because they wrap all your content inside a particular screen. So when we go to CSS, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hide my profile, add tasks, view tasks, other person's profile, and browse, and we're going to use JavaScript to fade in between the screens, which gives the effect of different views or a different thought or page, etc., etc. I'm going to go more into what IDs and classes are as we advance through CSS. I could just completely do a CSS lecture and do all general CSS and HTML stuff, but I'd rather just give you what you need to know as far for building a mobile application. Otherwise, this is just another web development class. So I want to gear our minds towards building for mobile. I'll go through what you need. IDs and classes are very important, so I will definitely go give you tons of examples of why you need both and why each needs to be used and where and how, etc. But just a quick overview of what it is. IDs are unique, meaning I have login wrapper. So now in my HTML page, I should not, you can, but this will cause major problems. I should not name another element, nothing, with login wrapper. And as we go through CSS and JavaScript, you'll know why. So an ID is unique, meaning now I have login wrapper. I'm never going to use this again. I'm never going to use my profile again. Add task, view task, other person's profile and browse. They're pretty much taken for our HTML document. Classes, on the other hand, which, by the way, let's add class equals wrapper for everyone. You could just copy and paste so you don't have to type so much. Okay, so why do we need classes? Well, classes, unlike IDs, are not unique. We will give classes to similar elements, meaning all of these divs, these 6 divs, they are screens. So they share a similar attribute, meaning that they will fill the entire screen when they are in view. So what does that mean? I don't want to write the same CSS for all 6 of these elements when I don't have to. Meaning that they're all going to be 100% height and 100% width, position absolute, etc., etc. I don't want to write that 6 times, so instead of pound login wrapper, I just type in period wrapper add my styles, and now all these styles apply to the same exact, all these styles apply to every single one of these elements. And that's just the basic use of using it, is, you know, just sharing CSS styles. When I do stuff like form validation and things like that, when I want to switch classes and identify which list item that I've switched a class from, you know, those are sort of advanced use of classes, but at its very basic use, a class is just a set of elements where they could share the same exact attribute. Meaning, so we have list class, a class called an li with a class called list. So every single one of those list elements are going to share the same CSS attribute, which you would want them to, because you want a list to have a similar template, you know, same background, height, fonts, font size, color, borders, etc., whatever you want, but you don't want to have to keep writing them for the same exact element over and over again in your CSS, especially, you know, obviously if you have a big list like Groupon, or even my app, I have 400, 500, 600 lists, items, and, you know, growing. You know, you just want to have to write the CSS style once. So that's pretty much why we need classes and IDs. IDs we're going to use obviously for CSS styles when we have one or more, when we have one of that element and not more. An ID also when I use JavaScript. Now I want to fade out my login wrapper and fade in my profile wrapper. That's why they need to be unique. So if you have another login wrapper div or span or p or whatever, it will also fade in that other div with the same ID. We don't want that. We want to make sure that only that one login wrapper is going to be faded out, and the one my profile div will be faded in. So that's why they need to be unique. Okay, so now that we have our logical 6 screens, we are just going to expand our login wrapper, and we're going to get the rest of these divs out of our site. So here is screen 1, login wrapper. I'm gonna type in Notepad so the font is a little bigger, and then I'll just copy and paste into Eclipse, because we're gonna run our project a couple times just to see what we have. It's a good idea, you know, we don't have to do it for every line we type. That's gonna get kind of annoying. So what we're gonna do is, you know, after a nice maybe half a screen or so, actually, you know, we'll do it per screen. We'll just see what we have. Okay, so now that we have our login wrapper, okay, what do we want to see in our login? What we came up with was we want a logo. So we want div ID equals logo. And that's it. Because when I apply my CSS styles to it, I will apply a background image, which will be our logo. Just a little trick. Background images in CSS load faster than applying an img tag with a source. CSS loads it faster, and it's actually lighter, as in there's less. It's a smaller file size. There's no CSS handles the actual logistics of it, but so CSS loads before your HTML document, so your image will load before the document's ready, meaning that it will load faster, etc., etc. You don't want images to lag. They won't anyway since it's on the phone, but it's just less stress on the phone to do it this way. Also, it's easier to style a background image rather than just throwing image tags in your HTML. It's actually neater, and you don't have to see so many tags and stuff floating around, which obviously helps if you have a larger project. Okay, so we have div ID logo. we were going to put the login form right on the front page, but I don't like that, and people are starting to steer away from the forms being on like your main welcome screen. I think that's kind of ugly. Like in my app, I have, instead of that having a login page, I have buttons. Either you could browse or log in. So we're going to do it similar. We're going to have two buttons. So we're going to use input type equals button. Now we should know the basic elements. Input type, we should know divs, spans, paragraphs, lists, unordered lists, input types. So now we're going to do an input type with this button, which is simple HTML or JavaScript button. Value, which gives it a name, which is inside the button. We're going to do login, and class equals app button. And I'm going to apply, again, all the same styles to app button, so I don't have to do it again. And ID will be login button. Now when I call a JavaScript function for login button, that's the only button that should trigger that event. So we're going to do this again. So actually we could just copy and paste, so you don't have to keep typing. Value will be sign up. Class will still be the same thing. And instead of it being login button, it will be sign up button. So now when I attach an event to a sign up button, I'll have our sign up page pop out. Again, the same thing when I have a JavaScript handler for my login button, a login page will pop out. So make sure that you do not reuse IDs, because it will mess your app up and have strange behavior and all that stuff, and you don't want that. Okay, so now we have our logo, our login button, and our sign up button. We're also going to throw in our pop-outs. So we're going to have a div class equals pop-out wrapper. And we're going to, hold on one second. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a div class called pop-out wrapper. This is going to hold all of our pop-outs. We're only going to have 3 of these throughout the entire our entire app. What it is when you have a pop-out, usually by standard, I'll show you now. Will it show here? Okay, here. So we're going to have like a semi-opaque black screen, which denotes that you need to do an action before you can do anything else. Like you want to add a favorite, you want to either log in and it'll bring you to the login screen, or if you press cancel it'll bring you back. But usually when you have a pop-out, it requires you an action before you can do anything else. Meaning, so now I have my sign up pop-out out. I don't want to be able to switch screens because that sign up pop-out is going to be floating around the middle of the app, and it just kind of looks bad, and it's really not the way it should be. So we're going to have a wrapper, and then within that wrapper we're going to have our div class pop-out, ID, login pop-out, and we're going to close it, and we're going to copy and paste sign up. Okay, so now we have our login pop-out and our sign up pop-out in our pop-out wrapper. What we're going to put in here are the 2 forms, either sign up or login. So we're going to have JavaScript handle which one pops out with the pop-out wrapper very easy. But it requires less divs when you just do it this way. I could put it in 2 pop-out wrappers, but that's very, it doesn't make sense to keep putting more HTML elements than necessary. Again, this will make you a better website maker because when you make things for mobile, you have to be you have to use shortcuts, not shortcuts, but you have to be as quick and to the point as possible and learn how to reuse certain elements and styles because you don't want too much floating around in a phone, only because phone has like very limited memory compared to a computer. We all know that. Everyone has told me how their apps crash out of nowhere and stuff. That's because the app will use too much memory and the phone will shut it off so the phone doesn't overheat and burn out. So we have to be mindful of how much memory we could use and how much we should be using in our elements. Also, when we do JavaScript, which I'll show you later, we have to be very quote-unquote light when we write scripts and make our pages. Okay, so now that we have our 2 pop-outs, let's open up our login pop-out. So what do we see when we have a login? Well, we have a wrapper, so that's our actual login pop-out. Then we have inputs, either username and password. So we're going to put input type equals email. We're going to go by email. Class equals droid input. I have a class that mimics native input boxes, which I'll give you for CSS style. ID equals sign up email. Name sign up email. And placeholder. If anyone doesn't know what a placeholder is, I'll show you when we run our project. The placeholder is just grayed out letters which denotes where we are going to, what we want to put in each input box. So see, here is a placeholder for first name, but as soon as I type something, the placeholder disappears. Like we can't use side-by-side elements like I said, so we have to find ways to save space. Again, putting it on top of the input box you can do. I just don't like it because, say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 input boxes. Now I have 10 rows instead of 5. You're going to need to scroll for what? So you're going to have to find ways to save space as much as possible. Okay, so now our placeholder, what do we want? Email. And let's close our input. So now we have a droid input with the ID of sign up email and a name of sign up email. The name is used for JavaScript, which I'll show you later. Just put it in now so you don't forget and things don't act weird later when you go to apply some JavaScript. So again, we're just gonna copy and paste so you don't have to type so much. Input type equals, again, if you don't know what input type email is, I'll show you when we run the project. Instead of the regular keyboard coming up, a keyboard comes up with the @ symbol and the .com, so you don't have to change keyboards because that gets very annoying. So I'll show you what that means in a minute. So we're gonna have password. Input type equals password. Again, instead of it being letters, it's just dots, so no one can see what you're inputting. Class, we're gonna keep the same. ID. We're gonna change it to login. Login, password, and change it up here as well. Login and login. And name, login password, and placeholder is going to be password. Okay. Also, I forgot. I'm sorry. We're gonna indent our elements so we know where we have children elements. Form ID equals login form. Okay. Form is we're gonna use later, so we could send our form to our web service. And we don't have to name all the elements inside the form, just anything that's inside the form will be sent. What I do is every time I have a child element, which means that my form is now inside pop-out, I want to indent once to show that. As you can see, it's very neat, and you can see what is inside what, and in case you have to delete something, etc., etc. It's very neat and easy to see, especially if you start having tons and tons and tons of elements because you have a bigger app. It gets pretty easy. Okay, so we have our email and password. What next? Login or cancel. So we're going to put input type button class left button ID cancel login value cancel, and we don't need a name for it because it's just gonna have an action. And let's do the same thing for the right side, and all we're gonna do is let's put on a new line. We're gonna make it class right button, and we're gonna make it ID login button and value login. Okay. This is not an exact science, but I've done much study. Also, have read many studies. When you do any type of forms or somewhere where a user can either cancel or submit or confirm or cancel, it is imperative that you put cancel to the left. In America, we read left to right, but our mind immediately scans over the left side and will see the right side, meaning that you want your user to log in and not cancel. They will see the login button before they see the cancel button. It's just the way the brain works. It's a proven fact. That's why we put cancel on the left and login to the right. So anything that's more important that you want the user, or whatever action you want the user to take more, you're going to put to the right side of your screen, especially because these are going to be side-by-side buttons. Obviously, it's pretty much a standard. You'll see it on most apps. Some apps do, register maybe on top and then cancel on the bottom, which is fine too. But again, with Android phones, some of them are, kind of small. I'm just trying to save space as much as possible. Also, I'm not like a big fan of having to use more space than necessary. Just out of, I'd rather be uniform with my forms and buttons, because some forms are longer, like our sign-up form, and if I do those left and right, and I do this login up and down, it's not uniform. So, out of sake of being uniform, we'll just make it left to right. But if you want to play around with it and make it top to bottom, go for it. Okay, so now we have our login form, which will have our login email, login password, cancel and login buttons, our form, and our div class pop out, which is our login pop out, and that is closed. So now let's do sign up. This will save us a bunch of time. Let's copy and paste the form from above. There we go. Okay. A lot of stuff has to change, but some of it stays. So we have, instead of login form, sign up form. Input type. All right, so we're gonna get different information right now. Instead of just email and password, we're gonna add a few things. We're gonna have, let's see, what information do we want? We want, first, your name. So let's put in our name. Input type. Input type equals text, which is standard text. Class equals droid input. ID equals sign up name. Name equals sign up name. Okay, so we have, and placeholder name. Okay, so we have input type text, which is our standard input type, and droid input, which will be to get droid-like input boxes. Our ID is sign up name, and the same for our name. Placeholder, we want name, let's capitalize that. And so we have name. The next thing we're going to do is copy. And we're going to paste this. And we're going to make it sign up username. Username. Placeholder. Username. Okay, so now that's a place for our username. Okay, so we have name, username. The next thing we're going to want is email. We already have this. Input type email, class droid, ID, sign up email. Let's change that. Name, sign up email. Placeholder, email. Okay, and now we're gonna. Okay, so now we're gonna do something a little different. For our major, when we select the major, we don't like to trust users' input. For example, Twitter, Facebook, whatever asks you for a location, puts it on your profile. People put dumb stuff like location, your mom, or something stupid. That's fine, but we want to be able to browse people by their majors. So we want to define a set list of majors that they could choose from, and we know that they're not putting in something stupid, or you know, phones have small keyboards, they might mistype it and not fix it, etc., etc. But there's a bunch of different reasons why we don't want users to type in things as much as they possibly can. So we just want to do things for them, pretty much. So the first thing we're going to do is create a select. Select ID equals major select. Okay. And if you don't know what a select is, let's bring up a select. This is select. It's a drop down. When you click on it or focus on it, it's a drop down menu. And obviously when you select something, the form will have that value, and you could submit. And when that form is being sent at this particular form, evening will be the value. Obviously you didn't, it's important sometimes to have defined bounds of what you want people to choose. Okay, so that's how you do a select, is you create a select and then close it. Now how do we create our options? Very simply, all you have to do is put option value equals. Okay, so option value, the user will not see this. This is just for the form, for JavaScript and for PHP, which will put things into your database. So I'm going to put option value 1. Actually, we're going to start with something. Usually you should have maybe a default, so people know what they have to select. So I'm going to put no good as the option value, meaning when my JavaScript picks up no good as a value, it'll create an error. You close the option value, and we're going to put majors. And you'll see when we run our project that major will be the default option. Okay, so let's just create a few since we know what it does. We're going to have option value equals 1 and close it, and it'll be CPT option. So you just copy and paste to make it easier. Well, this is how you create an option. So if you want to do an option select for state, city, etc., you do have to manually input it, which there's tons of them online. You can just copy and paste, so you don't have to keep typing the same stuff. Or if you type it once, you always have it. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These. Okay, and from the in-class section, we came up with CPT, ECET, IT, IS, and CS as the 5 majors that were in class. I'm sorry if you're not in one of these, just have to gonna pick one. Okay, actually, we're gonna put one more, and I'll tell them to add this next week. We're gonna put option value 6 other. Okay, so now we have our major select. So as of right now, people have to put in their name, username, email, pick their major, password, which is going to be sign up password, same exact placeholder. Let's change ID, sign up password, and input type again password. Most apps do this. I kind of like this only because sometimes by error people will input a password and by accident maybe hit like an extra letter or number or whatever they want, or an extra key, not even realize it, and then when they go to log in the next time they forget their password, and that's just stress on the app. So we're going to make sure they typed in the right password, and we're going to do ID equals sign up password confirm, and the same thing for name, confirm, and placeholder will be confirm password. So now people are going to have to confirm their password. For the buttons, just real quick, change cancel login to cancel sign up, and same thing, sign up button instead of login button, and instead of login, sign up. Okay, so now we have our login page, which includes our main icon or our main logo, a sign up button, a login button, our sign up form, our login form, and a wrapper. So let's see what we have. I'm going to copy and paste. Again, this is one full screen. This is a small screen. I mean, screens could get huge, you know, tons of code, but this is a fairly small screen. So we're going to do, I'm going to copy this whole entire HTML, and I'm going to put it in our login wrapper. And there we go. That's one page. So let's see. Let's bring this back up. And you can start tightening these in a little bit. You don't have to have so much space between. Maybe one or two for each. You know, but notice how everything looks pretty neat, and you could differentiate between the elements. So let's save this, and I'm going to run it, see what happens. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm going to stop this old project, and let's run it again. Okay, as you can see at the bottom, it'll say installing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, don't worry about the installation failed and all that stuff. That had to do because I kept trying to get it to run. So here we go. We have our div for our icon is obviously going to be blank, so we don't have an icon or an image yet. We have our email, our password to log in, and our cancel. Obviously, see now, as you can see, these are inline elements, so until we style them, that's how it's going to look. We have our sign up form here, and that's pretty much it for the first page. And when I show you how to CSS it and hide stuff and bring stuff in, you're going to see how cool it really is. How to put things in the same page and pop things in and out of the view. But that's what you'll have for now. And my keyboard is somewhere around here. Okay, I have to change this virtual device because it doesn't have a soft keyboard. But if you have a soft keyboard and you press in these email fields, you should see the @ symbol and .com, and that's the keyboard for email. Again, if you put input type tel, the number keyboard will come up by default, which is cool and saves time. Okay, so now we have screen 1. We're done with that. So what do we have next? We have my profile. Okay, so I'm going to bring Notepad back up. I'm going to delete this because I already have everything. So now we have my profile. What do we want in my profile? We're going to have our icon, which we could upload a picture, crop it, and have a nice square icon. Our name, our major, our username. Pretty much like a standard profile you would see on Twitter or Facebook, etc., etc. Okay, so before I do this, when you have a grouping of elements, say like now we're going to have our, let me type it in first actually, so we're going to have div ID equals icon holder, my icon holder, class icons, class icon, and we're going to close this div. Now, why did I give this a class? Because when I do the other person's profile, I'm going to apply the same CSS element to icon, and they'll be in the same position as a template. The reason why I have my icon holder as an ID is I'm going to apply an action to that, but not right now. I'll do that later. So now we have our icon. What else do we want? We want our username. So we're going to have div ID equals my username and class username holder, and close the div, and you'll close that div. I'm just going to put the rest of them in, and I'll explain as I go along. Then we have div ID equals my major. Oh, actually we'll do my name, class name holder, and close the div. And we'll do the same thing for major. Div ID equals my major, class equals major holder. Okay, so we have our 4 elements that'll be part of our basic profile on top. If anyone's taken web development before, or any sort of development class, you'll know that you don't want divs and images and any elements on an HTML page floating around logically. I'm sure for the most part you won't see a difference, but since we have a grouping and we all know that it's going to go in like the top section of our app or page, we want to just group it. So when I position these elements, they'll be positioned in our holder, and I could just move the entire holder and every single element will move at once, meaning I want to put div ID equals my information holder, class info holder, and close the div. So as you can see, all of our information is now going to be held in this information holder div. Meaning now I just have to CSS this up or down, and everything inside it will move along with it. And I just can CSS my elements, icon holder, username, etc. inside that little information holder, which makes it a lot easier to style. Okay, so my profile is going to be pretty basic. We're going to have our information, and the one thing I want to add is maybe a photo gallery. So div ID equals my photo gallery, class photo gallery holder. Again, you can name your classes whatever. I just name them based on relevance to what I'm going to do. So it's obviously going to be a photo gallery, and I'm also going to use the same CSS styles for the other person's profile page, their photo gallery. So photo gallery holder is pretty self-explanatory, and you don't have to wonder what the hell it is. Trust me, I've seen pages and apps that I had to fix or redo, etc., and people named them, you know, my right foot class or left pinky, and that's not even actual. Those are actual examples of what I've seen, and those aren't the worst. And and trust me, they had nothing to do with my left pinky, or you know, they were very irrelevant, and it's hard to sometimes decipher what the hell is going on if you don't have good naming conventions. Along with clean coding, naming conventions are very important. So okay, we're not going to do anything with this right now. We just need to put it in. So we have it. So let's copy and paste, and we are going to put this in my profile. And we'll come back to that later. We are going to add things to our app, but this is just a pretty much basic representation of what we're going to have in our app, and it's again, we're going to get fancier later and put in really cool things, etc., etc. But we just want to get the basics in, separate each screen, and then we're going to tweak things for navigation later. Because if we put them in now, especially because you guys have never probably made an app before, you're going to get really confused with what the hell is going on, and getting some navigation items to work as far as switching screens is a little pain, and it's very involved just putting the wireframe in. So we'll come back to that. Okay, so we have my profile. The next thing we're going to do is add task. As a matter of fact, let's delete add task. We're going to put it in line with our my profile. I think it's better off to do it right here instead of having its own page. It's definitely not big enough. So we're going to go to the top of our HTML document, and we're going to steal div class pop out wrapper, and let's close it. So we're reusing the style again. So now here's the second time you'll see an element with the same class. They're both going to have the same exact style. The one thing that we're going to do is give it an ID. So we could pop this exact one out instead of the other one. So let's apply an ID. So this one will be div ID equals login pop out. So now we can differentiate between the two when we do JavaScript. And we're okay. So, again, I'm not perfect. I overlook things sometimes, so if I have to go back, I apologize in advance. So now we have a pop-out wrapper. What do we want to put? We want to put div class pop-out. There you go. Now we have our pop-out, again, as we saw before. And inside, we're going to put a form. Form ID equals add task form. And let's close the form. Okay, so what do we want? We want our add task. So let's add input type equals text, ID add task input, placeholder add task, and class droid input. Again, basic input with our droid class, and you'll be able to see what it's for. I'm going to add a text area. A text area is a little different than a form. Most of you guys, or actually every single one of you guys, has seen a website before. Instead of a one-line input, you're going to see a multi-line box where you could put more than one line of information. So that's a text area, and that'll be for our description. So we're going to make it text area ID equals task description, placeholder equals description, class droid text area, because it will not have the same style as our inputs, and it is not a self-closing tag, so we have to close it with a text area tag at the end. And we're going to add due date, which will be input type equals text. Again, when we do our date, I'm not going to have users input the date because we don't trust that they know how to properly format a date. And I'll show you how to deal with that with a native date picker. But for now, as a placeholder, let's put in input type equals text, ID equals add task input, placeholder equals due date, and I'm sorry, ID equals due date input, and class droid input again, and that's it. So now we could have a task name, description, and due date. And the only other two things we're going to do is go back up in our document and get our left and right buttons, and obviously just change a few things. Instead, we're going to keep the classes, and instead of cancel sign up, we're going to do cancel task, and instead of sign up button, add task button. So we'll have a right button, ID task button, ID add task button, and value add task. So now you'll be able to add a task, and you'll see that it'll say add task, and I'll pop out form. So now we can eliminate a whole entire screen, which is good. It saves space in the document. B, it saves a whole headache of having to navigate from screen to screen in JavaScript, and honestly, if you keep having to navigate too much, you're going to get confused, and navigation gets a little quirky. No matter how good of an app it is, I've seen, even Facebook has its quirks. Expedia app is really well done, but it has its quirks as far as navigation because it has too many screens, and once you hit X amount of screens, you have no choice but to make the navigation a little intricate, which you obviously do not want. So let's put that in. I'll give you a second. Okay, so let's make sure everything was done right. Like I said, sometimes I even make mistakes. We should have two screens at this point, so let's save it and run as Android application. Well, let me go home. And unfortunately, the emulators take a little bit of time. Okay, so obviously you can't see that there is separation in the app, but there is because everything's just jumbled on top of each other. As long as we have our due date, our description, our cancel and add task, and all our elements are there as far as forms, that's good. And when we separate the screens, we'll make sure for sure that we have everything. But everything seems to be in line here, so we're okay. Now let's go to view tasks. Okay, in view tasks and browse, we're not going to put anything yet, and I'll tell you why. These two wrappers, browse and view tasks, depends solely on web data, meaning that we're going to pull in other people's profiles, pictures with like icons and stuff like that. As an example, hold on, let me bring it up. We're not going to have a traditional browse like this. What we're going to have is, if you've ever seen an app that has a sort, we're just going to have buttons or icons to sort between a couple of different features. You don't want to go overboard, especially in an application. I mean, you never would want all these options on an app because it's just very annoying. You pretty much almost have to scroll at this point just to fill in these friggin' options. So we're going to limit our options to what we could fit on like a 4 icon bar, and then we're going to have pictures come up like this. So pretty much everything depends on web data, and we'll go back to making icon navigation bars later on. We don't want to do that right away because we don't even know how the hell it works. So I don't want anyone getting confused. So pretty much that's how that works. So we'll go back to it. Okay, so we'll leave these two to the side, and what's left? Other person's profile, which is good because all you have to do is copy and paste our other template, except for the pop out. So let's go back up to my profile. We're going to take div ID my information holder and go all the way down to photo gallery holder, copy, and paste the template. It also helps to copy and paste because now you have the same exact thing in the other template, like my profile, as you will in here. If you mess up the IDs and classes, that's easy fix. Sometimes when you are missing something, it's called coding blindness, as I would call it, and you won't be able to see your mistake. You just have like tunnel vision, so you're gonna have to take a break, whatever it might be. But this helps that kind of error of missing an element, and so fixing a class and ID could always you could always do a search, which is you highlight your document and type Control F, and you could find. Let's see for ID, like for example, my photo gallery, and you could find, and I'll see that I have 2 my photo galleries in the document, and obviously it's an easy fix. Okay, so that being said, let's change everything over. Instead of my information, let's change it to other information, other, and other. So we've changed my information holder to other information holder, my icon holder to other icon holder, my username to other username, my name to other name, my major to other major, and my photo gallery to other photo gallery. And this is like the information we're going to be able to input at sign up, and we're going to do a pop out settings page where we can put even more information in, and create a genuine information settings page. Also, maybe we'll do statuses to see how they work. Simple statuses with maybe some words and a picture. Like Twitter, you could upload a picture, blah blah blah. Something simple just to see how things can interact with each other. If you have any ideas of what you would like to see, nothing is set in stone. Just email me at djn2@njit.edu. If you have any good ideas of what you might want to see on a task manager / social network, I'm open ears to any ideas you might have. So just email me right away, and maybe we could correct the changes. We could correct the app and change it now before it's almost 75% done, and it will require more navigation and or deleting stuff. So again, that's the idea of not wanting to go too far before you know what you want to do. Pretty much is set in stone. But for right now, we only have a little wireframe. Won't kill you to change things up. Okay, so let's run it one more time to make sure everything's okay. Press home. Okay, I think I messed it up by accident. Let's run it again. Oh, I think it's running. Yeah, try not to right-click and run a bunch of times. As you can see, Eclipse is just pretty terrible when it comes to Android. And the Android virtual device is equally horrible, so I'm going to try one more time and see if I don't blow up my computer. Okay, now it's installing. Once you see Wireframe or whatever your app is installing, just try not to touch anything, otherwise your computer will freeze. By the way, the Android virtual device takes up a lot of memory on your computer. I have like 8 gigs of RAM on my computer, and you know, sometimes it gets even a little sluggish on my computer. So I've actually seen where it has blue screen the Windows computer, which if you have a Windows, you know, is really not that hard. But just a reminder not to do too much while you're doing this. Okay, so you're not going to see anything because our icons, icon holder and our information holder has no forms, and we didn't apply any styles. So at the end of our wireframe, we should just have a bunch of forms: our login forms, our sign up forms, our add task forms. 3. So we have 3 forms, and our login and sign up buttons. So just as a little side note, Facebook just went native recently, and I would say about not even 6 or 7 months ago. Before that, they were using HTML5, PhoneGap, etc. And this is actually more or less the wireframe of Facebook. I don't even think their new app is as good as their old one. Truthfully, they didn't need to go native because it was pretty well done. You couldn't tell that it wasn't native before. Meaning that if you write your code, I mean, again, this is how the select should come up. Again, Facebook does have unlimited resources to hire the best of the best, but I mean, if you write your code nice and clean and to the point, which this is, because I've seen a lot worse, you will have a very fast running app, especially because phones are now coming standard with 1 gig of RAM, 2 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 5 is just phenomenal, flawless. I have a Galaxy S3 which runs incredibly fast and smooth. You could write pretty much any sort of application except for games in HTML5, which is cool. Okay, so this is the wireframe of our app. Just what I want you to do is, when you're done, is I want you to Control and print screen on your keyboard. Open up Paint, copy and paste, and I want you to side by side. You don't have to send me all the code, just so I see you have it, and a picture of what you have so far, just to make sure everything's in and okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If you're more advanced in HTML, within the next week or so, I should be posting some hardware integrated stuff like camera, uploading to servers, advanced animations, transitions. You don't have to do them if you just want to. As a side note, we will be getting to that anyway throughout the semester, but if you want to go ahead and have some fun, I will be posting the videos, and I'll let you know which ones are mandatory for the class. And again, if you want to email me to include anything in this semester-long application, which, by the way, I'm going to have both sections. One's going to do the iPhone version, which I think will be in class because someone has a Mac and an iPhone. And I want the online class to submit, the whole class submit a final Android version, and I'm going to submit them both to the market and put it in the school newspaper, so everyone can have some fun. Also, I want people to submit their own apps, and I will help them release their own apps throughout the semester, and afterwards there's no time limit after the class, whatever. If you ever want to in the future, just let me know. Okay, so we wireframed our app, print that screen and upload it to Moodle, where it says, where is it? Oh, I got logged out. It should say, hold on one second. CPT. It should say screenshot a video tutorial for the 14th, but it's due on the 18th of February, 1 week from the 10th. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.